it seems that in terms of political structure, the want of a monarch is always felt.
A young girl growing up without a father figure is always searching for it, whether it be in other men, whether it be in the state, whether it be in some kind of a pantheon of celebrities, always someone to have some authority over them, not necessarily even power, but just to provide the example. And even the American Revolution, it's really hard to it's hard to personify Parliament that had the power over these issues. So they use the king instead. It's really easy to personify a monarch and to treat him as this buffoon. It's hard to do that with an institution. One of the reasons that republics can function is that trying to personify congressional liberalism or corporate America, that's hard to do. We're talking about a lot of people spread out all over the place, and turning it into like Uncle Sam or the Statue of Liberty or the British Bulldog, something like that, the Russian Bear. There seems to be this drive to symbolize groups of people with some kind of entity that you can then project whatever you want onto. And it's one of the reasons that the JFK assassination, not again a monarch, Camelot, that once he was killed, American society was never the same. The sexual revolution, the coming Vietnam War and the revolt against it, the change in fashions, the change in dominant colors, certainly the change in music occurred because this, more or less Camelot figure was murdered. And clearly by forces that no one quite understood. To this day, no one really knows what happened. The average person has no idea what happened. And it changes the world. It changes everything. And now the president still has this mystical authority. He's responsible for anything and everything, but still is the because he's usually a puppet, he's usually a creation of more powerful forces, also the target of mockery and satire. No different than the father figure in Western society. He's given all this responsibility, knowing full well that he really can't carry out his duties because at the same time, the economic and the social position has been rotted out. He doesn't have the jobs that he used to, but he's still expected to be able to provide. Everything from affirmative action, immigration, privileged group of people. The average father can't do what he was able to do decades ago. And the children realize this, revolt against them, and then go to every regime-created fad you can think of. The way they dress, the tattoos, the music, trying to struggle to find some identity that the father, both God the Father and the father of the family, used to provide. And those who create these make-believe identities profit tremendously. They don't come from nowhere. And so powerful people hiding behind political power end up deciding what's good, what's bad, what's real, what isn't. And the children who don't know any better, who have no real source of legitimate authority, end up being absolute disasters. Trying to find that idealized, as you say, the idealized father figure, some kind of order that they can attach themselves to. And if they start believing that there is no such thing, then what develops is the Greek word abulia, one of my favorite words of all time. Abulia, it's not just lethargy. It's not just not wanting to do anything, but the belief that there is nothing to fight for. There really isn't anything out there. So they end up drowning in these, fashions, end up drowning in addictions and destroying themselves in the process. And they are now reproducing and creating families that they have no authority whatsoever to raise. And that's how this thing gets reproduced over time. And it leads to absolute misery, destruction, mental illness, and economic collapse.